Hello, everyone. So, my name is Chioma Eze, and welcome to another episode of A Better Health. Today, our topic is financial health, and I have a very special guest here today. His name is Kadeem Brown, and I'm going to have him just introduce himself briefly, what he does, and so we can all hear what he does.
Yoma, what's up? What's up? How are you doing?
Hey, good, good.
I,
How are you doing today?
I'm having a phenomenal day, Yoma. I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on. I'm super excited to do this and talk about financial health with all your audience.
Of course, of course. I mean, literally, you have been my advisor for probably like the last, I don't know, like 5, 6 years.
It's
And
crazy. Crazy, yeah.
I literally, every chance I get, I'm like, guys, go to Kadeem, go to him. He is good.
100%.
So it honestly wasn't even like so,
Mhm.
so when I thought of doing finances, honestly, like the first person, honestly, that came to
Yeah,
mind was you.
of course.
So
I
it
appreciate
wasn't even
that.
like a hard thing for me to even do.
Mhm.
Literally, I think take care of almost everyone in my family, almost from like Duba,
Yeah,
me,
yeah, yep, yep.
my fiance soon. So like, yeah. So
Yeah, of
anyway,
course. Yeah.
okay. All right. So I kind of want to just so I want to get to know you better, and I
Of
also
course,
want
yeah.
our guests to also get to know you better as well.
Yeah.
So I have some questions for you first before we get in,
I love it. I'm an
get into
open book, so let's go. I'm ready for the questions.
okay. What is financial health?
Financial health. So when we talk about financial health, I think it's the same kind of as physical health. Like if you want to relate it back to like the medical professional thing, and really what it is just making sure everything is kind of running together, making sure that everything is running super efficiently. So making sure like if you take it back to the body or to the medical professional, we know if one part of the body is not working properly, it usually affects another part of the body over a certain period of time. So when we talk about financial health, it's just one, making sure everything's running as efficient as possible. All your investments, your day lives, make sure that they're all in line with each other. The next thing that we want to talk about when we talk about financial health and some of the things we want to take a look at is we want to take a look at like taxes as well. Taxes, especially in the healthcare field, is a huge thing
Oh
because
goodness, yeah. That's like the
you
worst.
guys are making so much money out there, so you want to make sure that your taxes are in line, meaning that when you retire, how much you're going to have to pay on taxes when you start pulling from in your retirement accounts. If you invest in a couple of things, whether you made a gain, whether you made a loss, you really want to have a good grasp about what taxes are going to look like each year after year. And another thing you want to talk about when we talk about like just overall financial health is we want to talk about our goals too. Goals play a huge part when it talks about in financial health, because if you talk about being efficient and really kind of thriving towards having the best financial health as possible, we're able to navigate or use our goals as kind of that benchmark to kind of strive towards. So when we talk about financial health, you want to make sure it's efficient as possible. You want to make sure that you have your taxes in order, make sure you have some type of tax strategy in there to help you on the back end. And you want to make sure that everything you're doing is goal orientated. Whether you want to buy a house, a car, retire, take the kids to school, you want to make sure all of those are in line when we talk about financial health.
Wow. Thank you for all of that. That is a lot. It's so much interesting, things that come with with taking care of your finances. So we are going to get into that a little bit more. But I first want to ask you, when did you realize that it is important for you to begin taking care of your finances?
Yeah,
And
so
why?
I think I was
Why?
I was blessed because both my parents are in the finance industry. That's kind of how I got into finance. My dad's an
Oh,
accountant. My mom, she's retired now, but she worked for a hedge fund. So I kind of always knew finances or kind of had a good grasp on that. But even because everything information is right there, doesn't mean I capitalized on it. I'm still making the same mistakes that a lot of people made earlier on. I honestly wouldn't say it wasn't until I actually got in the financial advisor space till I really realized how important it is. and the little stuff that I can be doing now to kind of change not only my financial future, but my kids and my kids' financial future. And yeah, so that's kind of when I really got a grasp on it. I would say maybe in my mid 20s. I'm 31 right now, about to turn 32. But I want to say more or less like in my mid 20s is when I really started getting a grasp on not only my financial lives, but really started spreading the knowledge out there to the masses. I had like a podcast back in the days. I did a lot of stuff on like marketing, YouTube channel, and all that stuff. And that's when I really kind of pushing the financial education out there. I've been so like blessed to speak at a bunch of different schools, from elementary schools to high schools to college to young professionals. And what's so funny about speaking with all these groups of people and really try to spread so much financial education out there is that usually at the end of when I speak, I always kind of open it up for questions. And what I saw is a lot of the questions that people were like in elementary school and high school were asking me are the same questions that young professional groups, Ivy League schools are asking me. They're asking me obviously at a different level, but essentially the same things. And it shows that there really is no financial education from the time we're super, super young to the time that we're off and we're actually in the work field working and doing our thing. So that's kind of why it was super important for me to kind of say, you know what, I have to kind of help, especially in our community. We kind of help there because again, it's a lot of the simple stuff that we should be doing that we're essentially not doing.
So you said too during all the talks from so during your talks you said that people pretty much essentially ask the same questions. What is like the most common question that you had received from those in elementary school to high school and university?
It's usually what should I be investing in, or what's the hot stock, or how much should I be investing in, things of that nature. I think the question that comes up all the time, and even just like with friends or people that I'm having conversation, is Kadeem, where should I be putting my money? And unfortunately, that's not such an easy question just to say, oh, put your money here or put your money there. That's quite frankly the worst thing to be doing is just listening to a bunch of random people and trying to create a financial strategy around there. You really kind of want to focus on your goals. And anytime I have a client or you talk to a client, when you first sit down with me, I'm always thinking about or asking you about what do you want to accomplish in your life? Because if I know what you want to accomplish in your life, then I can tell you what you should be investing in. Maybe I have clients who say, you know what, I'm going to work till 60 or 65 years old. If we're talking about retirement investments, I know there's a certain group of investments that are going to be for that person. But let's say we have somebody who says, Kadeem, I don't want to work past 45 or 50 years old. That might be a whole nother financial plan that we have to execute to make sure that they're able to pull money, especially tax-free and all that good stuff at that age. So I think the most common question I have again is, what should I be investing in? And again, that's so specific on everybody's different on what you should be investing, how much you should be investing in, things of that nature.
Okay. And that is so interesting because I feel like even in my field, I come across a lot of nurses and doctors because I'm around them all the time that always say, I don't know what to do with my money.
Of
And
course.
and they're always asking, and I'm just like, and the ones that I have come across, I have a certain friend who, he is very like, so, and so not everyone is in his position. So I don't want to, make anyone feel, like anyhow. But
Yeah.
he told me one time, he said, I don't know what to do with this money that I have. What should I do? And he told me that he was even so afraid of even risking that money, of even putting it out there, of even doing something with it. And up until today, because I think it's been about 2 years since we had that conversation. He hasn't done anything with it.
Yeah.
So that's like also,
Analysis paralysis, we call that. Some people analyze, which is not always a bad thing. Some people might analyze their situation so much that they end up not doing anything. And I have clients that are people, prospects that I sit down with that are so kind of afraid, maybe of taking any type of risk or putting their money out to work that it debilitates them. They can't do anything out of that. But if you have a real sound plan, and when it comes down to to a lot of the stuff is trust. I mean, I work with a lot of your family, so the trust was kind of built there. But imagine just sitting down with somebody you randomly met or your friend referred you to, and then really saying, here's all the money that I make or all the extra money that I make. Take all this money and kind of invest that for me. A lot of the times it comes down to trust and just making sure that, you know what, that I'm able to trust this advisor. But it's education also. Like, there's so many stuff that we should be doing with our money that we're really not taught in school at all, that are the most simplest stuff that we should be doing to change our financial future for forever, basically. But since we're not taught that, we're not brought up learning a lot of these different tips and things, it's kind of super foreign to us, and then we're always hesitant on what we should do and how we do it. So a lot of the
Right.
times when I speak to clients, it's always me leading by education, me telling you why you should be doing this, what's the benefits for it. I can show you outlooks on how it's going to grow for you, how your money's going to grow, what you can expect in the future. So I think a lot of the times when I sit down with clients, especially like people that you're talking about now, is leading with education and kind of backing that up with facts on why you should be doing a lot of this stuff.
Okay. So since I am a nurse, I'm going to
Yeah.
talk to my fellow healthcare professionals, and I want to talk to the nurses first because I was in a position, so once upon a time, 5, 6 years ago, when I just got my first job, in the hospital, in the ICU, and I had no idea what to do, when I began to, work, right?
Yeah.
So that was when I connected to you, and that was when I began my journey, right? So I want to ask you, for the staff nurses that are just
Mhm.
starting out with their first job, what would you recommend? Um,
Mhm.
like some like financial tips that they could
Yeah.
do.
So one thing you said that was really the first tip that I do. Do not wait until you're comfortable with your salary and spending and everything before you go seek out advice. From the first time you get your first job, whether you're a staff nurse or whatever that job is, or even before then, you should already start talking to somebody to start creating the financial plan. The ideal sweet spot that I love to catch like doctors or even nurses in is nurses is probably right after they finish getting their nursing exam and they're looking for a kind of looking for jobs and nurses to kind of go in, hospitals to go in. That's a good sweet spot to initially start speaking to somebody, because at that point I can help you set up your employee benefits. I can help you with the retirement plan, anything that they offers. But what you should first do is maximize your employee benefits. A
So
lot of your
maximize your employee benefit is number one. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly. Maximize your employee benefits. A lot of the times, your employee benefits are going to have some of the best investments, like when it comes to like retirement, whether your company matches you, maybe they have some type of disability plan, maybe they have some type of life insurance plan right there. But you should definitely start by maximizing what your job offers you. And then what your job offers you is never going to be enough. After that, you start wanting to speak to like a financial advisor or somebody to start putting together an actual plan for you. But the biggest tip is kind of maximizing what you have and starting as early as possible. Don't say, I want to pay off this bill first, or I want to do this first or that first. We can help you create that whole plan and walk you through paying down your student loans and all that good stuff. But you want to make sure that everything you're doing is aligned again with your goals. A lot of people have some tunnel vision and they're like, you know what? I don't want to invest. I don't want to do anything until I get my house, until I get my car, which is the worst way of looking at everything. We want to kind of take those blinders off, really look at the full picture, and then start dissecting everything. And little by little, you don't have to start with a huge amount. You can start with as little as possible, but you just want to get started to get in the groove of putting your money to work for you.
Okay. Wow. So the first thing you said is to maximize your employee benefit, which is like the 401k,
Mhm.
403b, right? Things
The
like
four three
that,
B should be that. Yep.
IRAs.
Mhm.
Okay. So after that, what are other things that they should do, such as, so is life insurance something that is considered
Mhm.
to you, that like, is that something that everyone should have, do you think? Like,
Yes. So when it comes to like building your overall portfolio, there's two sides of your portfolio, investment portfolio. There's obviously the growth side where you're taking money and you're trying to grow your money as quick and as best as possible. But the other side of your financial portfolio is protecting your assets and protecting your income, protecting your livelihood, protecting your family's livelihood is one of the biggest aspects of when it comes to your overall financial portfolio. So yeah, life insurance is huge. The reason why life insurance is so important, especially as a healthcare professional, is because usually as a healthcare professional, you're usually the breadwinner in your family. You're usually making the most money, and your family's really relying on your income to kind of produce some type of income to take care of the household. So you want to protect your income with life insurance. And the other type of insurance I would say that we talk on the protecting side that I think everybody in the healthcare profession should have is called disability insurance. Disability insurance is super, super important also because you guys are specialized in different things. You might be a nurse, you might be an ICU nurse, you might be some type of doctor or anything. And you guys are taking years and years and years to study to master one area. God forbid you get in an accident or anything like that and you can't perform your duties anymore. Let's say you have to get another job. Those bills are still going to keep coming in. It's not like those bills are going to stop for anything. Everybody's still going to be knocking on their door every single month. So disability insurance is super important. It goes hand in hand with life insurance, and that protects your income while you're still alive. So they're able to give you, I think, up to like 65% of your total income back every single month. So you're still able to pay your bills and live whatever life that you were living before you got injured. So when it talks about your overall like portfolio on the protection side, DI and life insurance, medical professional, that's a no-brainer. And then you get into other type of more specific type of insurances. You have your own practice and things of that nature. But the two basic ones that you should get as early as possible, and whether in your residency or you just graduated, is some type of DI and life insurance because it's going to be the cheapest at that point.
It's a VI, you said?
Disability.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Because I'm like, what is DI? I don't know what that is. But okay, DI. It's an acronym that I don't know. Okay. So, wow. Like, you honestly said so much. So, I just want to just summarize everything because you just dropped so many gems. So, the first thing you said is to maximize your employee benefits, such as the 401k, 403b, your HSA, IRA, all that stuff. Maximize that, which I do know that is something that you told me as well. I think that the first job that I got, I was matching it like at the highest contribution each year. So yeah, so that. Two, I think you said is life insurance to protect all of your assets that you have accrued over time. Because a lot of us healthcare people, as you said, are spending years and years to master a specialty. So it does make sense just to protect that. And also the disability insurance too. With all of the years that is going into this work, anything can happen. God forbid, we don't want it to happen, but life is unpredictable. So it is definitely very important to get those three things.
Exactly.
So I do also want to ask, because I do have friends that are also travel nurses. Would you recommend any different benefits for travel nurses?
Yeah. Travel nurses kind of a whole different kind of ballpark because with travel nurses now, it's like, so you have your staff nurses, they're going into a structure, they're going into a employer that offers all these different type of benefits. They offer a retirement plan, they offer health insurance, life insurance, and everything like that. With travel nurses now, a lot of the agencies that they sign up with, they don't offer any of these benefits. And quite frankly, a lot of them, you're not W-2 anymore, you're like 1099 after that. So one thing, if this is kind of having your own business, basically, you're out there, you're fending for yourself. Yeah, your income is extremely or way more higher than those staff nurses, but that's because you got to do all the other stuff on your own now, basically. So I always say kind of the three most essential things that you should have if you're taking this independent route of being like a travel nurse is you want to have three people in your circle. And this goes to everybody, really. You want to have one, a lawyer. A lawyer is going to be very important if you want to maybe talk about like writing wills and trust, and God forbid you get sued for anything. You don't have that big hospital backing you and using their lawyers and all that stuff. The next most important person, you want to have a good accountant. My travel nurses, I love all of them. And again, like I want to say 80% of my clients are in the medical professional, and a lot of them did take a lot of travel assignments, and they made so much money during those couple the pandemic months, which I was so happy for them. But a lot of the times we don't really know that, okay, I'm making X amount of money every single month, but I'm not paying any taxes on this right now. So it's super important to bring some type of accountant in to make sure they're reviewing your books, they're looking at your income and everything like that, to make sure you're doing the right things for Uncle Sam, because Uncle Sam will come knocking. and then the last person you want to have in your corner is some type of financial advisor, somebody like me who's going to say, okay, you made all this money. The financial advisor and the accountant a lot of the times work hand in hand. It's our jobs to make sure that you keep as much money as possible. And Uncle Sam doesn't take a bulk of your money. So we'll work hand in hand to teach you where to put your money, how to invest your money. Different strategies are not really available to the public, or you might not know about it just being a medical professional, on where to put your money and how to, so you can keep as much of it as possible. So the travel nurse is kind of different because you got to do all that stuff yourself. So it's even more important to go out and seek help and not just make all this money and blow the bag like a lot of my travel nurses have been doing.
They always posting about that, right? Well, not they. We all, well, not me, because I try not to do it. But a lot of us do post it. We do, and I'm just like, why do you gotta put it out there? But everyone. And I just want to say too, what you said is also applicable. Is also applicable for also travel doctors, as well, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
do have friends that are travel RTs, travel
Yep.
doctors, and I just want everyone to also know that this is all applicable.
Yeah, that's all
Because
the
as
same
you
thing.
said, once you travel, you are not directly affiliated with that hospital
Mhm.
where they are backing you. And I
Yeah.
think the advice that you gave is honestly really good. And I
Mm-hmm.
honestly wish that before I began traveling, because I had to learn that on the way, I actually wish I, asked those things so I would have had it ready, instead of
And
learning it.
that's not financial education, unfortunately. Like that stuff is just not taught to us. And if you don't have the right
Yeah.
resources to go out, you'll just never really know what you should be doing. You're not going to know how much you should be putting away in
Mhm.
taxes, what other accounts are out there for you to kind of hide some money from Uncle Sam. You don't really know that. So yeah, it's super imperative, especially if you're independent and you're not a W-2 employee, then you want to make sure that you have an accountant and a financial advisor on your team.
Yeah, awesome. If I may add too, I would even say that it's important to also have a savings account too. Like I
Mhm.
know everyone says, what is out is to have 6 months of your living expenses saved up. And
Yep.
I want to say how essential that is, because last year in October, I had someone steal all of the tires, off of my car, right? Like literally someone went to my car overnight and literally took all the tires off, you know?
Oh man.
It was literally like the craziest and scariest, like just moment,
Mhm.
and if you don't have a savings, because those things do happen, it
It will
literally,
happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
like if you don't have insurance, if you don't have a savings, it's going to be very hard on you. So I think
Exactly.
even if you can't do 6 months, even if it's 2 months or 3 months, but you want to have something stashed behind when you can. So
Exactly.
yeah.
I always told a good range to have of savings is anywhere from about 3 to 6 months. And I kind of eyeball that depending on what your lifestyle is. So if you're single, you don't have any kids, maybe you're living at home still, or maybe your priorities or assets are pretty low, you can kind of go from that 4 or 3 month aspect. But if you have like a family, people are relying on you for income and things of that nature, you have to have that 6 months. And that goes in line with your overall financial plan. So again, when we talk about that portfolio that we start building out for our clients, we talked about what's inside that portfolio. We talked about some life insurance, some disability insurance on the protection side. But if we talk about like the asset side, like the actual money side, the first thing we're making sure is that our clients have some type of emergency fund. We need that emergency fund because that emergency fund is going to give you make you feel comfortable. You don't want to be outside, whether you're having fun, traveling, whatever you're doing, you don't want to be outside without an emergency fund, because somebody will steal the tires off your car, and now you got to dig into your fund to kind of get
Yeah, no, like, yeah, that was a really bad experience.
I can
But
imagine.
um, so I am curious because since you are so experienced, I do want to ask you, how long have you been working in the financial field?
Yeah, so again, I'm super blessed because my parents started in the financial field. So
Mhm.
I went to college. I went to Penn State. I went to Penn State for management and like alternative energy and stuff like that. After I graduated from Penn State, I came back to Long Island and I started working for a generator company. And literally, I started working for this generator company for like 3, 4 months because that's what I went to school for. A great job. And that's the kind of the first time I was able to see like what real wealth is. I live in Long Island, so it's a very wealthy community way out in Long Island, but I never really got to access or kind of see that growing up. It wasn't until I started working for that generator company, I was working on a lot of residential homes, that I started to see what real wealth is. And I kind of really knew that, you know what? If I wanted to attain any type of wealth like that, it wasn't going to be fixing their generators. So that's when I kind of easily fell back into like the whole finance industry. I think I started finance when I was about 4 years old, around there. So about 8 years now that I've been in finance. I started off just trading for myself. So before like the whole forest epidemic was a thing and people were trading and doing that and that, I traded stocks, I traded options, I traded foreign currencies and things of that nature, that I learned a lot from my dad, because that's what he currently does right now. And that's his
Wow.
hobby basically.
Yeah,
And I
I
kind of
didn't know all
started
this
there.
about you. Wow.
She's like,
Well,
she's like, wow, I get to know you.
so
So
I
yeah,
am curious, like, you cannot be around all of that information and not share with us, like, those, gems. Can you drop, just give us, who are out here eager to learn from you, like 2 to 3 gems, things that you learned from your parents, from the
yeah.
people that you worked for, just, what
Uh-huh.
is something that you can
I'll
share?
give so the why I love my parents so much is because they supported me so much, and they were like the biggest support system, always rooting me on and everything like that. And they gave me the opportunity to go out and try as much stuff as possible. Like I went through a laundry list of jobs in my early 20s. I have my CDL license. I drove trucks because I was in like generators and stuff like that. I worked in almost every retail store out there. I was a personal assistant, which I'm still a personal assistant, more on the business manager side for like a professional boxer. So I was able to do a lot of stuff, and they always encouraged me to do something. So one gem I can say is have a great support system around you. If you don't have a support system around you, naturally go out and find that support system, because there's people who are striving to do great just like you are in your head. So go out and make that support system within there. And you'll do that by like networking in the right circles, going out to different events and things like that.
Mhm.
The other gem that I got that I really pushed me towards financial education, what I made an emphasis towards the end of my career as a generator, my short-lived career as a generator technician, I used to go in these houses, and usually there's 3 people that I'll meet in these houses. Usually the houses are so big, so you'll never see the owner. So you might see like the housekeeper or the person who runs the house for them. But every now and then I will kind of maybe see the wife. And I would always ask the wife, oh, what does your husband do? Or what do you guys do for a living? How long have you been here? And it was always something regards of ownership. It was always like, oh, my husband owns a law practice. My husband is in finance. He's a doctor. He does this. He does that. So that started taking like ownership. You got to own something. You got to be the boss. You got to grow something. And they always say their own long story of like, oh, we never had it when we were growing up. I'm just a little city girl from Queens or Brooklyn or something like that we just kind of put in the work years after years after years until we got to that point. So it was kind of making sure that I was very patient. Whatever goal that I had, it wasn't going to be overnight. It's going to be 10, 20, 30 years before I reach the success that I want to reach. So you have to have that in mind. And then every so often when I was able to speak to the actual, whoever ran the house, I was able to ask them like, yo, what do I need to do to be in your shoes or anything like that? And I feel like 80% of them always gave me a book to read, or you should read this book, you should read that book. And I'm just like, I don't want to read no book. I'm trying to be in this house. But one time, one of these guys actually broke it down to me, and then he kind of just said that all these financial books that people are giving you to read and things of that nature, this is somebody's 30, 40, 50 years of experience in 200 pages or 300 pages. So for you not to want to read somebody's and he's dropping you everything that worked for him over 50 years in 3 pages, it's crazy not to be gravitated towards these books. And that was kind of the light that slipped for me. It's like, okay, I really got to start reading these books. And it started with a lot of financial books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Richest Man in Babylon I've read. Think and Grow Rich is a great book on finance. Even on like the more mental side, How to Win Friends and Influence People, things of that nature. And I want to say earlier in my career, I gravitated heavy towards just books and podcasts. So those are the kind of the two essential things. I want to say, as crazy as it sounds, books. And I'm not even a big reader. Like for me, when I talk about I read a book, I turned on the audio. Usually if you're in my car, I'm either listening to a podcast or I'm listening to a book. When my friends come in, I'm throwing on the music and everything like that. But if I'm by myself in the car on my way to work, it's constantly educating myself on anything like financial related or just mindset related, and keep on growing that.
Wow, wow. That is like, I am blown away and I really appreciate you sharing all of that. My last question for you is, what are the common mistakes that you have seen in your financial journey so we, don't make those?
Yeah, so the first and biggest common mistake that I see a lot of people make is just listening to too many people at one time. If you have so many people telling you to do this, do that, my uncle said Teslas, go buy some Tesla. My aunt told me I should start a Roth IRA. My cousin told me, go get some life insurance. In life, what we tend to do is we tend to grab a whole heap of different type of investments or products just because somebody we respect and love went out and told us to go do that. So yeah, they have the best interest for us, but we go out and grab all this stuff. And that hurts the efficiency of your overall financial plan because not everything is working together. When we talk about investing, we need everything to align with each other. If you're doing one investment here, we got to make sure the other investment is aligned with that investment and whatever your goals are and how much you're making or everything. So I want to say one of the biggest mistakes is stop listening to everybody. Find the actual professional who knows the ins and outs of tax codes and investments, know all your options, and then just kind of work with that one person. You usually get that from referrals and things like that, maybe listening to them on a podcast or reading their books or something like that. But that's one thing that I want to say the biggest mistake that a lot of people make. The second biggest mistake that I see a lot of people make is probably taking too long to start planning. Like we talked a little bit about that earlier. Like you started right after school, which is phenomenal. But the worst and the most devastating thing for me is when I sit down with somebody who's 55 or 60 and they're like, okay, I want to retire. Let me start financially planning right now. By then, it's almost way too late unless you've done a phenomenal job of saving money throughout your whole career. It's almost way too late for that. So starting as early as possible and not trying to play catch up towards the latter part of your career. Because literally the earlier that you start, the less money that you have to put in. But what's ironic about having to put less money in is when you're younger, that's when you usually have the most disposable income because you don't have a family, kids, or anything. So you're way easier to pre-fund and put a lot of money in the beginning of your investment accounts in your investment career. That's really going to start growing over a long period of time. So that's kind of the second thing, not waiting too long to start. The next thing I see is just especially in the medical professional, is overspending. I feel like a lot of our medical professionals just overspend, and I agree with that, man. I see the reason why. I have a lot of doctors, and I do a lot of talks to residencies, and that's kind of the sweet spot where I like to catch somebody when they're in their residency program. I build up a lot of, I think most of my doctors are OBGYNs, but join your residency as an OBGYN, you're making $40,000, $60,000, struggling to pay your bills and everything like that. But it's literally you graduate 2 months later, you go from making 60 to about 300, 400, 500, and sky's the limit. So what do? You're saying, oh, I can do all the stuff that I didn't want to do or I couldn't do back then. And then you guys start overspending so much money. You guys go out and overspend. And the biggest thing I see everybody just go get a huge house, the most nicest house. Everybody wants to put that down payment on the house. I always tell people, if you're not bringing any income from your house is not an investment. It's a liability. As much as people think it's an investment because it's going to grow and mature over time. That's one of the worst investments because you're waiting 30 years to make a couple of $100,000 off of something or anything like that. So, and you're locking up all your money in there basically. So I would say another thing, big mistake that people make is just overspending and spending it on the wrong things. I always say before you kind of talk about spending and when you go to that shift of making a little bit of money to graduate and making a lot of money, you already want to have a financial plan and set. And when we talk about financial plans, a lot of people are asking, you know what, how much should I be investing for my future? And we break it down where we like to start is 20%. 80% of your income should be going towards paying your bills, living your life, having fun, traveling the family, and all that good stuff. But 20% of your monthly income needs to be get invested back into yourself. And that's that kind of sweet spot of that number that you should be investing. So everybody who's listening and they're saying, yo, how much should I be investing every single month? 20%. Whatever you bring on a monthly basis, 20% of that is what should be invested for you. And I want to say maybe the last financial mistake that I see a lot of medical professionals make is that you guys are medical professionals. You guys are not business owners, or you guys are not the best when it comes to starting your own business and things of that nature. We kind of really talked about this before we got on. It's just kind of outsourcing a lot of this stuff. I think a lot of people, when they come into the medical space, they're like, you know, I'm going to open my own practice. I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. And ownership and doing your own thing. And quite frankly, when I talked about that story, when I was working in the generator field, asking a lot of people what they did, it always fell back into ownership. But in your medical career, they don't teach you how to own your own private practice or this or that, all the stuff that it takes to becoming a business person and actually running your own practice. So you want to make sure that you have a great team around you that's helping you. have that lawyer, that accountant, that financial advisor, those marketing people and all those stuff that's really going to help you start your practice, because you don't know the ins and outs of it. So once you do have that idea, you want to make sure that you're talking to the right people to kind of make sure that you're starting it and you're running it as efficiently as possible.
All right. I mean, thank you so much for all of that information. And there we have it, guys. This was a wonderful talk on financial health, financial planning, anything financial, tips, things to do and not to do. And I did it with the wonderful Kadeem Brown. And I am going to also post his information as well on the post, so you guys can also connect with him as well. So I just want to say
100%.
thank you again from taking time out of your busy schedule, because you didn't have to, but you did.
No worries. Thank you, Brad. Of course I would for you.
Yeah. Okay. Any final words before we go?
The biggest thing is just that we talk about like analysis paralysis. It's just like, you know, you have all this information, you don't know what to do with it. A lot of people think talking to a financial advisor is super expensive or it's going to cost them a lot of money. If you guys come from this podcast, I could do consultation with you to let you know exactly what you should be doing. Again, I try to lead by education, and I just know, especially in our community, there's not a lot of people that are in the position where I am to kind of actually legally help people work on their finances and do it the actual right way. So if you have any questions or anything like that, again, Shioma said she's going to leave all my information. Contact, if not me, if you know somebody else who's a financial advisor, maybe a family friend or anything like that, contact somebody who's a financial advisor to help assist you with growing and protecting your assets.
Awesome. Okay, good. Thank you so much again. And thank you for tuning in.
Take care.